Hello, friends. This is Scott. We're back down here at the hobby farm. This is the week after Mother's Day, and this is in the morning. As you see, everything's beautifully lush green. Unfortunately, most of what's lush are weeds and grasses that I don't want where they're at. So, yeah, I got down here for an extended trip, and again, this is part of what I did on my last 4-day trip down when I showed you the trees that I had cleaned up with the rings in the front yard. So this was part of that trip. And I'm going to call this extreme weeding because that's pretty much what it was. I decided that, you know what, this yard is yet to explode because the weather hasn't changed to be really hot yet. If I don't get on top of some of these weeds, I'm going to be fighting them all summer long. So I figured I'd at least get a start at it. Again, a lot of this is going to have to be redone. Every week it seems like the grass grows a foot. But yeah, I just wanted this place to look decent. My vision quest for this trip was to make it look the best it's ever looked, again, with a lot more to do. And here's a look at how tall the grass and the weeds were on the old big pile of dirt in the old rock quarry. And they're a foot tall or so in places. And a lot of this weeds are those perennial weeds. They're just the roots break and they resprout. So again, it's a lot of futility, but I had to get this cleaned up just for my own mental health. And you see that sack back in the back? That sack's been there since I bought the hobby farm 2.5 years ago. And it looks heavy, and it's shoved all the way back under the deck. So I figured, there must be something really valuable in here. So I figured this is my lottery. There's got to be something good in here. Well, as I open it up, I got dirty diapers and old booze bottles, it looks like. So, yeah, this was a pretty heavy sack. So the idea that somebody took the effort to climb underneath the deck and shove this pile of garbage back in there, rather than just take it to the garbage can, is pretty interesting. So I don't get that, but no lottery winner here. So we're back to weeding. And so here's a partially weeded yard, and then we get down to getting this area done. And again, it looks much better. Again, until I get that patio in and the retaining walls built and all these rocks gone, it's not going to look great. But at least it doesn't look just like a weed fest. Again, if you go back to my original videos in my playlist when I first bought the hobby farm, this place was out of control everywhere with 3-foot tall weeds. So this place has come a long ways. And sometimes it's hard to remember exactly what it looked like, but I go back and watch those earlier videos just to kind of keep my morale because, yeah, it's a lot of work. But again, I'm smothering all the weeds on the outside of the fence with grass clippings and some of the weeds, and then the rest of the weeds went into my compost bin, my 3-bin compost system. I'll show you that in a little bit. I got weeded up around the house and back into the window wells because the weeds had grown back a little bit, but that looks much better. Again, this yard is going to be a work in progress for a long time, but yeah, I'm happy to get it to the point that I'm not embarrassed about it. But now this is an ugly eyesore, but I was a little bit leery of pulling these weeds because the big wall of dirt is going to come sloughing down, but yeah, I need to remove some of that dirt anyway to start building a retaining wall, which I don't know exactly when I'm going to start on that project. But we'll see what my priorities lie. I've got a chicken coop to put in to get my chickens moved. I got to move my shop down, and I need to put siding on the house and replace a window. So we got to kind of prioritize. But this trip was just simply manual labor, and again, the weather was cool enough that it was pleasant. I even got a sunburn on my arms, which I usually don't burn too much. But yeah, the sun was pretty intense, but the temperatures were still decent. So I wasn't sweating all day. But again, just wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow of weeds, and yeah, it looks much better. But yeah, it doesn't get rid of the fact that we just have a big pile of dirt there I got to take care of. But and even around the firewood, I knew I was going to have problems with weeds, and so I figured I'd clean this up too. And I'll put cardboard down and smother everything with wood chips, and that's the goal with this whole backyard. I don't want to mow anything back here. I want it all to be smothered out with weeds. I want to use wood chips. I want to have planting beds different places and a pond or tree or various other things back here. But I don't want to mow back here. There's enough mowing in the front yard. I don't need to mow back here. Now around the compost bin, you can kind of see the overflow of the weeds in the worm compost bin. But this area, I dumped a lot of wood chips back here and wasn't the worst area of my yard. I had definitely worse areas. So this was a pretty simple process here. It took just minutes to get this area cleaned up. So just wanted to kind of show you how good it looks. And I'm going to do an overview of the entire yard so you get an idea of where we're at. Now we're still about 2 weeks out from planting the summer garden down here. I already had potatoes freeze on at least 2 occasions, so it's early. And yeah. But here's a pile of wood on the other side by the pasture, and I need to get that cleaned up too. And around the burn barrel, I still have a little bit of brush to burn, but I've got most of that done. So we're getting down to manageability here, where this yard is just at a point where we just got to maintain and then just try to get ahead with new projects as the summer's going to progress. But here's a look; it looks a lot better. And that's how much of the weeds that I pulled that I didn't throw along the fence line. So here's an overview of the whole yard. I just want to kind of give you a view. So hopefully you're not getting bored with my yard tours, but just kind of wanted to at least document that this yard looks the best it's ever looked, probably since it was built, if even then. So much better. It's all cleaned up. I got my trailers in the front now. Obviously, Mr. Lincoln's with me on this trip. And mowing this whole yard, it was I hadn't mowed for about a week and a half, and it about a single loop around the yard, and it was time to empty the mower. So a lot of empty bags to get this done. But look at the trees again. The fruit trees are all mulched, or they're all weeded. They need to be mulched. That'll be on one of the next videos. I did get some mulch down. I still have that little Alberta spruce you saw briefly there. I'm going to move that tree somewhere. The previous owner planted it there, and it's got no purpose. So I think I have room for one more fruit tree on this side, so I think I'll get an Asian pear maybe, or a plum or something a little different. I could do cherry, but I think all it's going to do is get wormy. I don't like to spray trees, so I'm a little leery of cherry because you're just going to be full of worms. But the bulbs were nice this year, and the comfrey, as you see, that dark green is looking good. As we scan back around, looking at the orchard, and again, I'm bringing bark down or mulch to mulch those in, so hopefully suppress some weeds. And I watered a lot this trip. I watered the trees heavily, just because I want to. Before I mulch them, you got to water. If you don't water them, you're just going to create a situation where the mulch is going to absorb all the moisture in the future, and it's not going to get down to where the tree roots are. So you always got to wet things well before you put on mulch. Here's the raspberries. You see there's a lot of them lived from last year's planting, but I've got some gaps that I need to bring some more from Salt Lake, and that'll be in a future video because that's another project I did this time down. And so this area I got weeded, and I'm ready to plant some more raspberries to fill it in. And scan back around, it looks much better. Again, plenty of, there's much room for improvement, but again, this place is a ton times better than when we first bought it. Just imagine the amount of garbage I had back here. They had 3 or 4 dumpsters I had to bring in. Now the pasture's looking pretty good. Talked to the neighbor. He's going to be bringing his cows here soon. I don't know if he's going to bring the horse again or not, but he said that he had a good calf crop, so we have some cows to put in here. And as we're walking down here, the wood looks better with it cleaned up, and I am gonna again cardboard and mulch everything in so I don't have to do much weeding or mowing. One more pile of sticks to burn, and I was going to do it this trip down, but it started to rain on me, so I didn't get to that project. But there's where the tomatoes are going to go, and I still need to screen some compost or bring some compost down for that area. My excavation point where the big pile of dirt was is definitely disappearing, but I don't have time at this moment to do any screening of beds. And going down, there's all the weeds that I pulled out. And the worms are doing well. I checked on them in the worm bin, and they seem to be doing fine. And looking around, I'm excited to see the wild roses start blooming. They're up there in straight ahead of me, a little to the right. Now there's where the deer are usually hanging out watching us. No deer today though, but they must be around here somewhere. I haven't seen them recently. But the pasture is almost ready for grazing, so we'll see when the big animals come. We'll get them back there and get them to work. And here's a look at the garden up to this point. This is the spring garden. And again, I haven't planted any summer crops yet. And there's the potatoes there that seem to be doing better. I got some grass clippings there to mulch the garden here when some of the seeds come up. But the peas are looking good. And the birds haven't eaten them and the deer haven't come over here yet. So hopefully we get a pea crop. They look pretty good germination. The next bed over is the potatoes, the russets that I planted, and a lot of them froze, so there are some coming back. And again, it froze again, so I've got some that are green and some that are dead again. So we'll see what that does to our overall potato crop. I did plant some seeds here, which we'll talk about in another video, and I planted some brassicas, as you see the little plants there. And then the garlic is doing great. Again, the tips were burned a little bit with the cold weather, but I think the garlic's going to be great this year. And here's the onions. And then we have the garlic that I had pulled out of the pea bed, and that's struggling a little bit, but I think it'll be okay. And then a look at that's the red and the white potatoes in that bed right there. Now I've got to put in formal edging and all that stuff, but I think it's important to garden a few years before you start putting in permanent infrastructure, because you're going to change things. And I've got new ideas already of how I'm going to do things a little differently in the future, but right now I just want to get garden beds in. There's the siding I still need to do, but these 3 beds here are going to be the summer garden. So this first bed will be, probably some cucumbers and things like that. The middle bed, we'll see if that's going to be squashes, and then corn on this. I think this first bed will be corn, sweet corn. So yeah, well, hopefully we'll be able to grow some crops that I haven't had the space to grow for quite some time. And I'm looking forward to, especially sweet corn. So hopefully putting it this close to the house will keep the deer out of it so they don't munch it all. And I did get smart. The hardest thing for me is loading my mower in my truck by myself. But so I'm usually breaking boards, trying to build ramps. But I just pulled off onto the worm compost bin and pushed it right in the back. And you see how beat up that mower is. Duct tape's a guy's best friend. But yeah, this yard went from beautifully green and overgrown to looking the best it has in quite some time after a lot of hard work and a lot of hand pulling of weeds. Again, I have weed eaters, but I just got in here with my hori and tried to either cut weeds or dig them up. And again, raw materials. I'm using all this scary green stuff to help me mulch other things. So anyway, well, thanks for watching this video. And if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button. I've got a lot of content coming. I've got 3 or 4 videos already lined up, already filmed and ready to go. So I just have to get them edited and get them out to you guys. And I'll be adding to that library. So yeah, thanks. If you can hit that subscribe button, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.